Up next, we have a shoot 'em up from one of my favorite developers, Cave, and this one I've wanted for years and years and years. And when Limited Run Games put out a collector's edition of it, I jumped all over it and grabbed it. It's Dangun Feveron. This is an arcade game from 1998. Cave put it out, M2 ported it, they're the masters of porting games, and I think they did a good job with this one. This is part of the M2 Shot Trigger series where they're bringing these classic arcade games to consoles and giving it a lot of extra features. Dangun Feveron's claim to fame is that it's like a disco-based shoot 'em up, which I think is a really cool idea. It's a bit different than the other Cave games because it isn't really a bullet hell. Instead, it has fewer but like faster bullets, making it feel kind of like a Toa Plan game. You have a selection of 3 ships and 2 hidden ships to start with, and you have your standard shot, a selectable power shot, and bombs. It's a pretty basic game, to tell you the truth. And the whole thing with this game is that you're trying to grab these little falling guys to increase your score multiplier. The graphics are okay, I have to say. They look all right, but I don't think they're quite up to the Cave level I was expecting. And sadly, the disco theme is not really as pronounced as I want it to be. The music on the first 3 stages is like nothing special and kind of downright bad at times, but the music on the last 2 stages is incredible and some of the best I've ever heard in a Cave game, and it really has that disco feel that you would expect from a game that's based around disco stuff. Like all M2 releases, they've added a bunch of like interesting features like a super easy mode that brings the difficulty way down to a level that basically anybody can beat. They added a lot of like practice modes, save states, so you can work through those tricky areas that are giving you like a ton of problems without having to play through the freaking whole game every time you want to do it. And I enjoy that this is like a relatively brief game. It's short. It doesn't overstay its welcome like a lot of shoot 'em ups tend to do. 5 stages felt like a perfect length to me, and I was really happy that it was only 5 and not like 7 or 9 or 11 like you see often. But there are some flaws with this game. It's not one of Cave's best, I'm just going to tell you that. The score multiplier like obscures the bullets that are coming towards you. It makes it really easy for something to sneak behind all these flashing numbers and just take you out and ruin your run. And I didn't really like that. I feel like they should have increased the transparency on that or something, or put it somewhere else on the screen. Also, the stage design and enemy design are like really uninspired and just feel like very basic. And I feel like they could have gone more with like the disco theme on those. There's nothing there specifically to make this game disco themed based on the stages and the enemies. Also, I really hate that the time attack mode is like locked behind a code you have to input at the title screen. You can't just select it. I feel like that's something that should be selectable after you beat the game maybe. But nope, like you have to know a code that you have to look up online somewhere, and you would never know it was there unless you looked up a trophy guide or something like that to this game. And while this game does have a lot of cool features that the M2 Shot Triggers releases have, it is missing some of the more popular ones that the later releases did have. This is really not one of Cave's best games, not by a long shot. The disco theme is really cool and unique, and I love that idea, but it is super underutilized. Outside of the music and the falling, dancing guys that you collect and the disco ball, there's really nothing that makes this disco themed at all. The rest of the game just feels generic and uninspired, and the levels are a bit repetitive, and as are the enemies and bosses. Most of the time the game is extremely brutal, and it's considered to be one of Cave's hardest games. The bullets are lightning fast, and you have to maneuver your way through them while collecting these little disco dudes, and that's really not that fun. Like, dodging bullets is fun, shooting enemies is fun, but doing that while trying to like maintain your score multiplier with these little falling guys, it got really frustrating a lot of times. And I never really felt like the game was good enough to warrant all the time and effort that it requires you to put into it to get good. But learning this game and learning how to like master it is more of like a lifestyle rather than a sit down and play sort of affair. They really want you to devote a lot of time to this game and just play this game and only this game and live this game, till you perfect it. And I will say that this game is currently sitting at the 19th position for the best shmups of all time on Shmups Forum. I was really honestly expecting it to be totally incredible and to blow me away, and I was honestly pretty disappointed by it. Like I said, it's a decent game. I did get the 1 credit clear on it with all the ships on super easy, and I did clear it on fever mode at the normal difficulty, which is, good enough. It's a decent game. I think it's worth playing. I don't think it's worth going out and grabbing the collector's edition, but if you can find the standard edition and you're a huge shoot 'em ups fan, you might love it. I didn't. I thought it was pretty okay, not terrible, not outstanding, but it's worth a play. And I was glad to experience like this part of Cave's history, although it's not one of their best. So Dangun Feveron is a 7 out of 10. It's good, but I'm glad to be Dangun Fever done with it. Dad joke.